What is up, H-Town? Well, I missed you guys. Did you miss me? This is Athletically Declined on ESPN 97.5. I'm Jet, as always, with my partner in crime, Mr. Spencer, Mr. Fantasy Nolan.
How is it going, brother? We missed you last week. Good to see you back in the flesh on a Thursday night, talking a little football. We are fastly approaching NFL free agency, so I'm glad you're here to break it all down because there's a lot to get to this week.
That's music to my ear hair. Love it.
Specifically the ear hair.
The ear hair specifically, yeah. Dude, I mean, if you're a Texans fan, I mean, just to immediately get into it, it was a good day.
Yeah. Nick Caserio does it once again for the second year in a row. He makes a very smart move, gets a free agent that would have been a free agent, gets him for free, essentially just burning a 7th-round pick, and gets him before he can even enter negotiations, as the Texans traded for in division with the Jaguars. They traded for Christian Kirk.
Which is crazy.
That is crazy.
For those of you who are casuals or maybe don't understand the significance, you do not see inter-conference a lot, but especially inter-division like that.
Yeah, and the caveat here is that's a little overblown because they definitely were going to cut him anyway. So in a way, if you really want to break that down, it kind of helps the Jaguars out. They at least get a 2026 7th-round pick. So not even a pick to help them this year. It's a 7th-round pick next year that they get for free for their trouble. Basically, in keeping Christian Kirk from signing with other teams, the Texans now not only can sign him or can have him for their team this season, but now what's really important about this is they don't have to sign him to a new contract. Right. Instead, they have his current contract, 1-year deal, $16 million left, where they can now restructure or rework the deal so that it works for their cap situation. It's exactly what the move was for Joe Mixon was last year. They traded for him. They threw away a late-round pick that didn't mean anything. They sent him to the Bengals. They trade Joe Mixon so he doesn't enter free agency. And then they signed him to a deal so that they get the cap relief that they need. And I expect within the next few days, or at least by the end of free agency, we will see the Texans come to some kind of agreement with Christian Kirk. It'll be interesting to see how long of a deal we get for Christian Kirk. He's still relatively young. He is only 28 right now. So I thought, honestly, he was older than that. It kind of seems like Christian Kirk's a name that's been around for a while, but it's one of those names where he still has a lot of football left. And so you lock him in for maybe another 3-year deal similar to Joe Mixon's last year, and you're set up and you have a established slot wide receiver who has been there, done that in the NFL. We know he can produce out of the slot, was great for the Cardinals, was even better for the Jaguars. It's a great move for the Texans. And Nick Caserio cooking already, and free agency hasn't even started yet. Love to see it.
Yeah, and also too, you bring a Texas boy home in terms of former Texas A&M alum, and this is a guy. What I love about Christian Kirk is he's a sneaky, like, consistent guy, right? Like, you kind of forget that this is a dude he's not a number one receiver, but if one of your guys go down, like if Nico Collins were to go down, this is a guy who you feel very comfortable in. We have seen him do this in Jacksonville before, where he can step into that role and be a very valuable target to CJ.
Yeah, he's handled a heavy target share in his career in the past, and Christian Kirk, I think what the Texans see in him is similar things that they see in Nico Collins. Now, that would kind of surprise you at first because they looked so different. Big physical wide receiver, Nico Collins, Christian Kirk, a little bit more of a finesse guy. Neither of them top end speed, which, I still would like to see the Texans add some speed to that wide receiver room, but they definitely needed to figure out the slot with Tank Dell. Probably not going to play in 2026, but let me give you a stat. A down year in 2024, fought injuries a lot, but in 2022 and 2023, in terms of yards per route run versus man coverage, Christian Kirk in 22 was 12th. In 23, he was 8th. Now, again, 2024, down year, jumped up to 57th, but he was battling injuries all year. And if you watched any of that Doug Peterson offense in 2024, you wouldn't be surprised that they had trouble moving the ball at all. So if we can get that version of Christian Kirk, what I don't believe is a wild statement to think. I don't think it's crazy to think that going to a better offense with a new offensive coordinator in place that is very, very good at utilizing his slot wide receiver, not just Nick Caley having success with Cooper Kupp in Los Angeles, guys that have come in and replaced Cooper Kupp when he goes down, like Tutu Atwell. He got paid today. He got $10 million. And part of that is because of the work he did with Nick Caley. You put Christian Kirk in there, that's a match made in heaven. Christian Kirk is going to make money with CJ Stroud. It's going to be very, very good. I still would like, though, like I said, for them to add some more speed. I hope they're not done adding to the wide receiver room for the Texans, but it's a great, great start before free agency even starts.
Yeah, and I think, too, the question may come across to some of you guys like, oh, what does that mean for Tank Dell? What, are they moving on for Tank Dell? No. This is a brilliant move for that situation as well because, like you said, you are going to be without Tank Dell. So there is a massive, loss that you're going to feel, and, I mean, if you're trying to get over that hump of proceeding forward in the playoffs, we saw just Nico Collins is not going to be enough.
Right. We've seen it 2 playoffs in a row where it was just Nico Collins out there and no one else, and it's just not going to work. I no longer can see John Mechie and Xavier Hutchinson be the wide receiver 2 and 3 in a playoff game that the Texans are trying to get to their first conference championship in franchise history, and that just simply cannot be the wide receiver 2 and 3 that you're rolling out there. So hopefully they can stay healthy. Christian Kirk is another guy that has battled injuries throughout his career. Need him to be healthy. So I think that's another reason why they need to continue to add talent to that wide receiver room. But as far as what we're looking at, say goodbye to Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs, thank you for your service. I think he's going to be successful. I think he has some good football left as well. And I still reject the notion that he is some locker room cancer. I think a lot of those narratives are wildly overblown. When he was in Houston, he was beloved in that locker room. He was named a captain. And it sounds like the reason they traded for Kirk and are going to let Stephon Diggs move on is simply a money thing. They can get the money back and use that in elsewhere in other places that they have a lot of needs for. So Christian Kirk, upgrade in the slot. I give this move an A+. It's very, very good way to start the offseason for the Texans.
And another part about Christian Kirk's game that I really like is very underrated route runner. Very good route runner. I think taking advantage with some of the things that you were able to see Diggs last year do, like in terms of in the end zone, where you would get off the line, get one-on-one, and that, as you said, being 8th in the league, I think you're going to see, I'm not going to say you're going to see the same level of what Diggs was giving you before he got injury, but it may be a lot closer than what people, maybe are anticipating.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as, I can already tell you there's going to be people that are naysayers to this trade.
Yeah.
Wow, they could have just waited to sign him. With what this wide receiver market's shaping up to be, throw away the 7th round pick.
Yeah.
Not even this year, in 2 years.
Yeah.
Throw that pick away and ensure that the guy that you think is a good fit for your offense is on your team to begin the year, and that you don't have to, go to a contingency plan or go to plan B if he ends up getting a bag from some non-contender team that just is trying to sign someone to appease their fan base. Now you get the guy that actually seems to fit their offense. And that's what it tells me is we've got news about DK Metcalf being available. Right. We've got news about, Devontae Adams being cut, Tyler Lockett. There's going to be a lot of wide receivers that are available for teams to sign. The Texans identified Christian Kirk as a guy they would like in their offense and they think will be successful in their offense. And I think they made this move in response to Tutu Atwell's 1-year, $10 million deal.
A lot of money for a guy like that, man.
And if that's what the wide receiver market's going to be like, signing someone sounds like a pain in the rear. So trade for him.
Not the rear.
Restructure, rework the deal, make it work for the cap. I think this is a great move. Nick Caserio, you did it again, you beautiful, beautiful man.
Yeah, Texans get better. How can you not be upset with that? And as you said, there's opportunity to still add people. So don't be surprised if the Texans maybe do go grab somebody else. Don't be surprised too if the Texans maybe do something. They have the freedom now in the first round with some of the things that are going on in the draft. We're going to get to some of that here later in the show, but that maybe they do go up and get some speed. There's a lot of chatter going on about the two kids from the two kids from the Longhorns this year and the speed that they're showing out there on the 40. So, I would not be shocked.
More so from Matthew Golden. Isaiah Bond didn't hold up his end of the deal, saying he was going to beat Xavier Worthy.
He did not.
That was still a crazy thing.
Right?
I can't believe he had who was hand chiming Isaiah Bond to make him think he had a chance to break Xavier Worthy's record. He didn't even come close. Didn't even scratch the surface.
Come on now.
Like 4.4 is still fast. So he's still going to be a decent speed guy when he makes the league. But, buddy, who lied to you, man?
Even talking on Waterboy's group chat show this week, I kind of was talking to Bethel about that. And because he had a very fast 40 as well. And he was talking about how the 40 doesn't tell the full story. Like a guy can be very, very fast, but they just aren't good at running a 40-yard dash. Like that is two things can be true, as James West says, right?
Absolutely.
Like that is how it works.
Yeah, and Isaiah Bond, I think he'll be a mid-round guy, but if you're talking about guys in the first round for the Texans, it's Matthew Golden. So coming up after the break, we will get into some more free agency, and we'll continue to react to the big trade Christian Kirk traded from the Jaguars to the Texans. We'll talk about that and more here. This is the Athletically Declined radio show here on ESPN Houston 97.5.
This is Athletically Declined
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Now back to the remote Veritex Community Bank Studios with Jet Boyer and Spencer Nolan.
It is the Athletically Declined radio show on ESPN 97.5. Jet, Mr. Fantasy, Spencer. For the break, talking a lot of free agency, a lot of good stuff going on. Houston Texans got a guy familiar with him.
We got one, man.
Got one.
We got one already. Before free agency even starts, Christian Kirk traded from the division rival Jacksonville Jaguars to the Houston Texans. But that's going to be the first of a flurry of moves that we see go down within this next week as free agency is going to begin. It looms, as they say. Yes, it is looming large as Monday, the legal tampering, which I've always loved the way that they describe that. Legal tampering, which is an oxymoronic statement. Let's just call it what it is. You can start negotiating contracts. Why do we call this legal tampering? I don't understand, but that begins on Monday. And so on Monday, make sure you've got your Adam Schefter notifications, your Ian Rappaport notifications, Tom Pelissaro. Make sure you got all these people on lock, on notifications, because if you're like me, you're going to be at work whenever all these deals go down. Yeah, make sure you are staying up to date.
And we will be live at multiple points during that day, all day. I'm not going to say that we're going to be on the entire day in one sitting, but
we will be on live in the evening for sure. We can tell you that.
I will, I plan on being live for at least the second half of the morning. So that is where we are sitting with that. Also, too, before we go any further on free agency topics, want to shout out to the community, as always, our guys out in the Twitch world and the YouTube comments. Boy King, Justice for Largo. Largo stopped by tonight, picked up King in his shirt. So, hey, guys, come chat it up. Give your opinions. Be cool. You never know. We may get some merch.
Yeah, we'll hook it up. We appreciate all the love. You could do a lot of things on your Thursday night, but spending some time talking a little ball with me and Jet Boy over here means the world. We appreciate it. We love what we do. It's been fun. But back to free agency. There is a lot of rumors. We could start in a lot of different places, Tyler. I think we should start breaking down what is going to happen at the quarterback position, one that's near and dear to yours and my heart for different reasons. What's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers? Does he go to the Giants? Does he go to another team? Does he just end up calling it quits and retiring? What do you think? Let's ask it this way. What do you think he does? What do you think he should do? Two different questions.
Yeah, I think like what he does is I do think that he goes to the Giants, because I think if he were to go to the Giants and like basically exceed the expectations that were set for the Jets when he went, right? That's like the biggest, slap in the face of like, told you so. It was your fault, not mine. And let's be honest, that is who Aaron Rodgers is. He is that guy. I also think that with Brian Daboll, I mean, that would probably, because I'm putting it as a whole, he, very much responsible, as talked about numerous times, for the development of Josh Allen. But in my opinion, Allen's like where he's at now, we didn't get to see when Daboll was still there, like the mountaintop of Josh Allen, right? Like it was still ascending.
He did not win an MVP with Brian Daboll.
Correct. So I would say is it fair to say he's getting a quarterback that like the best quarterback talent that he's had so far?
Oh, no, I would not say that.
In terms of like where he was at, do you think that
when he had Josh Allen, I still think he was better.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I wanted to see, but it's the best quarterback he's had since he was with the Giants.
Absolutely. By far, it would be a vast improvement by a country mile over what they got last year from Daniel Jones, Drew Lock, and Tommy DeVito. Who, by the way, they re-signed Tommy DeVito.
Which was interesting. I didn't get that, but
yeah.
And I asked that question too, by the way, because I knew that you probably have looked at those numbers.
Yeah. Here's the thing. When it comes to Aaron Rodgers, when it comes to his fit with the Giants, to me, this is more so about a guy that doesn't necessarily want to uproot his life.
In that exactly. Exactly.
He's 41. He can't look at what the Giants have right now and think I have a chance to win a Super Bowl like he did when he was initially going from the Packers to the Jets. Yeah, he wants familiarity. He wants to get one more bag, and he's going to sell wolf tickets to the thought that the Giants can contend. But there's the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. You got up-and-coming superstar sensation quarterback Jaden Daniels in Washington. They just added Deebo Samuel. And honestly, I still think the Cowboys are going to be better than the Giants, even if they add Aaron Rodgers. I put the Giants comfortably as the 4th seed in that division. And so you're really going to be banking on this defense in New York turning it around, and them adding more talent outside of Malik Neighbors. I guess you could kind of count Tyrone Tracy. I'm a big fan of him, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend he's some world-beating talent at running back. Right. They need more talent for them to have a realistic chance to win games, and I just don't see the New York Giants being in a position to do that. Then again, though, I will say, Brian Daboll, firmly in the hot seat.
Very much.
Firmly in the hot seat. And so if he thinks that Aaron Rodgers is the key to saving his job, I guess that's going to be the move he makes.
I think there's less risk, again, based on like what is currently at his disposal from a quarterback standpoint on that roster. And I would even go as far as to say also based on what's currently on the free agency market. He's probably the most consistent, aside from maybe Russell Wilson, which we still don't really know if he's going to get re-signed or what's going to happen there with the Steelers. But if you're asking now, what do I think that he should do?
Yeah, what should Aaron Rodgers do? We just gave what he is probably going to do, but what should Aaron Rodgers do?
This may surprise you, but I think that he should go to Tennessee.
Really?
And the reason is because that's where his solidified off-season home is. He built his home in Tennessee, I believe it's in Nashville. So why would you not want to go where you can be comfortable, you can be where obviously if that's where your home's at, your friends, like your life is there, and you can go down. I mean, they've got a big plan for the new stadium. So, and to me, if I were in his shoes, that is what would make the most sense to me, unless he is genuinely in his mind wanting to go contend. Then at that point, you have to think that you're picking up the phone and you're calling Brady and being like, "Hey, dude, can you and Pete meet?"
Yeah, and I think the other talk was that him and Devontae Adams are looking for a West Coast home. What's the West
Where
Coast
are you gonna
home?
go?
I mean, I guess people nowadays count Vegas as a West Coast. Last I checked, not a coast.
No.
That there's a full piece of land in between Nevada and the ocean. So I wouldn't call that the coast, but I digress. Devontae Adams ain't going back to Vegas, right?
Absolutely not.
That wouldn't make sense.
In Seattle, he's not going to go to Seattle, especially with Lockett's gone.
Yeah.
DK's about to get traded. Why would you do that?
And I'll be honest, I hear you say he should go to the Titans. If I'm the Titans, what do I want him for? I have the first overall pick. If there's a quarterback
Assuming that they're trading that is where I'm.
But that's the thing. If they're going to trade out of it, I still think I'm punting. If I'm trading out of the first overall pick, if I'm the Titans and I trade out number 1, it's because I think there's a guy in 2026 that I might like at quarterback more, and I have Will Levis. Obviously not good, not a franchise quarterback. That's not Aaron Rodgers right now either. So why would I go out, pay a massive deal to Aaron Rodgers, even if it only is for 1 to 2 year of a contract? Why would I do that whenever Will Levis is already here and I already know I'm not going to a Super Bowl with him or Aaron Rodgers? And I'd hope they're not delusional enough to think that they're an Aaron Rodgers away from winning a Super Bowl with a roster that acquired them the first overall pick. They obviously have a lot more holes that they need to address. It would make no sense. So what I'm getting at is when you start really running down the list of teams that would be potential Rodgers suitors, the only one that makes a reasonable amount of sense to me is at this point is the Giants.
Yeah, I agree.
What about Pittsburgh?
See, I have heard that. I just don't. I think that I think they really like Wilson. I think that they're going to run it back with him.
Well, I actually think they're going to run it back with Justin.
I hear the
Fields.
Fields more than Wilson.
That's what I've read
I
as
have
well.
seen the same, but you know how it goes sometimes when it's this early. Those can be more inaccurate than accurate this early in the game, and that's why it makes me think, one of those deals where it's like if you're hearing one, it's probably the other.
Potentially, they're putting out smoke screens here and
that's
there.
what I feel like. Because to me, like if that was the case, then why wouldn't you have played him more? That's my biggest deal. I am still a big believer in Justin Fields. That's who I want the Jets to sign, and I would rather personally them do that than try and draft somebody. And even if they did draft a quarterback, still sign Fields, because I think that the ceiling's there, and I think if he's just given more, I guess responsibility in the offense, that he could do well or do better in the right system. We've seen him do well. We've seen him go up against very good teams when he was in Chicago, i.e. the Lions, and have good games.
His final year in Chicago, he did have a couple of performances against the Lions, 2 games that they lost, or he might have split them. I can't recall. But in those 2 games that year,
I think they did split them.
They did split them. Those 2 games, the one he lost though, had a chance to win that one.
Yeah.
He had a chance to sweep them. So I agree. I think he's capable of high level play. If you're signing Justin Fields at this point to be your franchise guy, oh man, I don't know if I can get on board with that. But be a competition guy, I could see him being the Sam Darnold of 2025, is where he finally gets the chance to go to a team that can use him properly, and then it finally makes sense. Coming up on the other side, we will get into our AD bets of the week, as well as our AD lock of the week. This is ESPN 97.5, the Athletically Declined radio show.
You're listening to Athletically Declined
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
from the remote Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here's Jet Boyer and Spencer Nolan.
It is the Athletically Declined Sports Show on ESPN 97.5. Jet and Spencer holding it down for you guys. A lot of free agency talk going on, guys. A lot of moving pieces in the NFL. We're going to be covering a lot more of that here as we continue on this beautiful Thursday evening. Thank you guys, as always, for listening. And it is time for the AD Bets.
That's right. Our locks of the week.
Hey, Train.
Gang. What up?
What you got for us this week, champ?
So for this week, we're going basketball. Pretty soon, we're going to start getting into some college basketball. It's about that time of year.
Yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir. I'm going to help y'all out with that. I'm
I am so excited for March Madness. It's been almost a year that I've been itching. Go Cougs.
That's right.
Go
baby.
Cougs.
Come on, go Cougs.
So my first one I have here, Gary Trent Jr., over 3.5 made threes. That's minus 125. He's been shooting efficiently from deep, averaging over 6 attempts per game in his last 9 outings. And he has hit that number 6 out of the last 8 games. So he has hit the over on that. My second one, Kyle Kuzma, under 8.5 rebounds. That's minus 120. Kuzma, since he's gone over to the Bucks, he's been pretty solid. He's averaging, I want to say, like 7 or 8 rebounds a game. So he has been rebounding a great deal. He's been over that. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the last 8 games. So he has been hitting that at a pretty decent clip. And then my last one I have, that's probably my favorite, is going to be Jarrett Allen under 12.5 rebounds. So my reasoning for that is that Allen's rebounding numbers tend to drop when Evan Mobley is on the court. He's averaging 9.2 rebounds a game with Mobley and 11.8 without him. So basically dropping 3 rebounds a game whenever Evan Mobley is on the court. He's also on a back-to-back schedule, which could limit Allen's minutes because if the game becomes a blowout, factors like that, it's going to drop. But those are my 3 favorite bets of the week, especially that Jarrett Allen one. As far as the lock of the week, our lock of the week did hit last week. That was the Rutgers in Michigan, where Michigan was absolutely god-awful for the last 10 games.
Yeah, didn't we get an outright win on that one? They covered and they won?
Yeah, they won by 20. So.
Yeah, insanity. They were 10-point dogs. We had it for you.
Yeah, so James's lock of the week, Mr. AD Bets. He is liking the Knicks +4. And his reasoning, favorites who gave up 68 points in the paint last game are 4-17 against the spread. And their opponents were giving up, let's see.
This is great radio.
Yeah, riveting radio.
Yeah, I hit that Jeopardy.
So 68 points in the paint last game. They gave up 75. So 4-17 against their spread if their opponent has been doing that. Knicks +4. That's James's lock of the week.
All right. I like it. I want to go back, though, on your Kuzma one. You said you had the under?
The Kuzma, I had under 8.5 rebounds.
Okay, because you were giving me a lot of reasons why I should bet the over on that, though. So why I was waiting to hear why are we going under on his rebound?
Oh, then I had it backwards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the last 8 games.
Oh, okay, I got
He
you.
has gone under. So, yeah, I flipped that. My bad.
No, all good. I'm not someone that likes to bet unders a whole lot just because it's more fun to bet the over. It's always more fun to cheer for more of anything. The only upside to betting unders is that once the game starts, you're winning your bet. That's the upside with the unders. But it's not as fun to cheer
I'm
for
a downer.
misery.
I'm a downer, so I really enjoy cheering for misery. It's under, especially in soccer games.
Hey, me too.
Yeah, we know you are. You're a Jets fan.
Yes.
So
there it is.
But yeah, I'm a big under fan, and it seems like the under hits more times than not. I would like to see a number of Just all together, all sports, all gambling, overs and unders.
Like all time.
Yes. What's
Yeah.
hitting more?
Well, I'll say, I mean, Vegas, and we know this since we are gambling degenerates here, call that 1-800 number if you are listening to this and you have a problem like we do. Call that 1-800 number. I don't have it, but my friends have told me about it.
Or you could call your bookie.
But it's just it's always more fun to bet the over in any sport. Betting over in run total, betting over in points totals, assists. Like the only and I'll even say this in NFL, I love a good over on their interception total. Like let's cheer for chaos.
All right.
Let's cheer for madness. That's what I like to see with my bets.
That also, if you're betting the under, and God forbid, no one likes it, but if someone gets hurt that you're betting on,
It's sports. That
it
happens.
does make you feel a little better to know that your under is going to hit.
Yeah.
So that's a big one for me.
Yeah, until your bet still misses and then that player got hurt for no reason. And then you feel like a bad person.
Also, I would like to say in our group chat that we have, at the beginning of the year for the NBA, we had a big heated discussion, multiple people, about the hiring of JJ Redick and how some of us, I think it was about split 50-50 between who thought he was going to be a good coach and who thought he was going to be a bad coach, and that he was going to be a mouthpiece for LeBron. And I was on the side of I think JJ Redick would be a great coach.
Yeah, I thought
and
so
he
too.
has run away. He's my favorite for coach of the year.
Ooh, I don't know about that.
With the job he's done, I really like what I really like that. Who would you have?
Ime?
Pistons? Pistons coach?
Give me Kenny Atkinson in Cleveland.
That's
How they're playing right now, 12-game win streak. They're 52-10. They're going to win 60 games.
You don't think Ime?
I think Ime's got a good case for it as well. I obviously biased towards him because we've seen the job firsthand that he has done. He's been excellent. I actually think he'll finish probably top 3 in the voting. But I think for me, it's the job that has been done by Kenny Atkinson in Cleveland. Because no one had Cleveland being this good on their radar. No one. Unless you're a Cleveland sports fan, no one had them being this good this season. In fact, going into the season, there was rumors about Darius Garland wanting out, about Donovan Mitchell wanting out, and they ended up signing both of them, and now they're both balling out. Evan Mobley, since Wembanyama went down, he's very likely going to run away with the Defensive Player of the Year, where it's going to come down to him and Jaren Jackson. What we're seeing with that team in Cleveland, and it's easy to say now, like, well, of course, they're so good. But again, going back to this past offseason, no one had the Cleveland Cavaliers being this good. And so that's why, for me, he would be the runaway coach of the year for me. But I do like JJ Redick. I do like JJ Redick and the job he's done. But I also think he gets he also kind of gets a little ding on him because he gets to coach Luka Doncic now.
It's true. AJ, I know you want to say something in this topic. Let's hear it.
Oh, I mean, about the coach of the year. I wish it would be Udoka, but I think the Rockets have not necessarily nosedived too much, but like they're at a point where I don't think he's going to win it.
They've fallen off a bit.
Yeah,
they have.
For sure. So I agree with what Spencer was saying about Kenny Atkinson, but honestly, I think it's going to be JB Bickerstaff because the Pistons were freaking 14-68 last year, and they might not even have to be in the play-in this year. So I think they're going to really take that into consideration. Really, the top 3 candidates, I wish Udoka was going to be in it, but I think it's going to end up being Bickerstaff, Atkinson, and what's it called? JJ Redick. So yeah.
Okay.
I mean, another argument for JJ that I would have is that everyone. I mean, you said he gets to coach Luka now, but also everyone criticized the Lakers for this move. They said this is not a move for now. This is a future move for the Lakers, and they were all saying that Luka and LeBron could not play together.
Oh, man. Yeah. I mean,
that seemed to be the narrative on all of these sports talk shows.
They have definitely been playing amazing basketball. Since the calendar turned over, I think they've only lost like 4 games total. Like they've been playing great even before Luka got hurt or before they acquired Luka. But I just think anyone that was saying Luka, a top 5 player, and LeBron, a top 10 player in the NBA, anyone saying those two weren't going to figure it out, at least to some extent, they're talking crazy. Now, I'm on the record saying I don't think they're legit title contenders, and I agree with that. I do stand by that also. But I never was doubting what this offense was going to look like. And to be fair, I was skeptical of the defense. So far, the defense has been great so far as well. I don't think they'll hold up in the playoffs whenever they have to go up against a big like Nikola Jokic. I don't see them having success.
Well, I would counter that just for the sake of argument because I think the Nuggets are the better team. But it seems like JJ Redick has found a way to beat the Nuggets. What you do is you close in.
Blow them out,
Yes, you close in the middle of the court and you leave them wide open for threes. You say, all right, if you're gonna beat us by threes, you're gonna. But I'm not gonna let Jokic beat us.
Yeah, because that is one thing. The front court defense for the Lakers is definitely concerning. Your centers are Alex Len and Jackson Hayes. That is not a formidable duo to have, protecting your rim. However, Jared Vanderbilt, very versatile defender, can guard 1 through 5. Dorian Finney-Smith, again, versatile defender, guards the perimeter very well. So they are doing like the opposite of what a lot of NBA defenses do modern, which is focus on rim protection. And they are saying, no, we're going to suffocate you on the perimeter, and you are going to, 3 is more than 2, the classic analytic. And so that's why it's been working for them so far. But again, I'm skeptical about what it'll be in the playoffs. But good stuff on the bets. Coming up on the other side, we will get into our favorite segment of the week, the Jag of the Week segment. This is the Athletically Declined radio show here on ESPN Houston 97.5.
This is Athletically Declined.
On ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Now back to the remote Veritex Community Bank Studios with Jet Boyer and Spencer Nolan.
It is the Athletically Declined sports radio show here on 97.5 ESPN. Jet, Mr. Fantasy Spence, hanging out with you guys tonight. About to get into the Jag of the Week, but before that, a little shout out to some of our friends over at Backyard Bliss Pools, baby. Party foul. So Houston, is your pool ready to make a splash? Maybe it's time for you to build the pool of your dreams. At Backyard Bliss Pools, they do it all from crystal clear water maintenance to designing and building custom pools that turn your backyard into a paradise. Pros, bring your vision to life. Our boy Coy and his team over there with over 35 years of experience, there is no one better. Build your pool that fits the perfect dream backyard situation. Backyard Bliss Pools. You guys can check them out at backyardblisspoolservice.com. Make sure you do it quick because summer is approaching. All right. Jag of the Week.
Yes, sir. It is time for our favorite segment of the week, the Jag of the Week. Now, if you're listening with us for the first time and you don't know what Jag means, well, let me go ahead and explain that for you. Jag stands for just a guy or girl. You know, we are all inclusive here. But it is someone who is simply mediocre. They are bland, white chicken. You know, they are nothing special about them. They're not necessarily horrible, but they're not necessarily anything great or special about them either. They are just a guy. Now, Tyler, I'm not going to lie to you. I had a rant planned about Nico Harrison.
Okay.
And how the Kyrie Irving injury this past week just further solidifies how horrible that Luka Doncic trade was. So Nico Harrison, he was my Jag of the Week, and I was going to rant about it. But while we were in the break, I just came across a tweet, and I'm going to, at the last minute, I'm going to change up my Jag of the Week. My Jag of the Week is actually now going to be Kendrick Perkins.
Ah, yes.
Basketball analyst for ESPN. And now, if you know this guy, if you are familiar with Kendrick Perkins.
Oh, no.
Kendrick Perkins has his...
Wait, hold on. Did you just say Kendrick Perkins is your cousin?
Small world. But Kendrick Perkins, he is notable for having just crazy takes. Very casual, lazy takes, especially for being someone who is employed at ESPN, who played in the NBA for 10 plus years. He's had some really, really bad takes over the years. And so bad so that guys on other networks, all namely being Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley over on Inside the NBA on TNT, they have mentioned by name Kendrick Perkins and his horrendous takes. So what I just came across on, and like literally this happened about an hour ago, just came across this. Kendrick Perkins tweeting, "Hey, at NBA on TNT, might want to tell that senior citizen Charles Barkley that I'll be around. When he's seeing idiot or fool in person, make sure he keep that same energy. He can come playing with me if he wants to, and I'm going to address him like the numbers on a house. Straight from the 409, homeboy, and we bar none and fade all. Hashtag Texas boy." Now,
that's ridiculous.
Man, Perk, he is mad that Charles Barkley had a problem with his takes. So the reason I'm calling him just a guy, of course, not a fan of his takes. And this dates all the way back to his time at ESPN when he was criticizing James Harden when he was a Rocket unfairly. That's probably the source of it for me personally. If y'all know me well enough to know, I stand James Harden. I defended him at all turns, every step of the way. So I probably have some residual feelings about Kendrick Perkins from there, but he's just always feels like he is the most lazy, surface level takes, and he's being paid millions and millions of dollars on ESPN for those takes. And also, sorry, AJ, I know this is your fam, but he's keeping his job over a lot of guys that cover the NBA at ESPN that they have let go over the years. Guys like Jalen Rose, guys like Zach Lowe, guys like Bill Simmons, who that was a while ago, but nonetheless, they are continuously losing NBA talent to other networks, to other opportunities, just so that they can continue to give FaceTime to Kendrick Perkins. I don't understand it, because to me, Kendrick Perkins is just a guy.
I like it. I think that he gets way too far out there, and there's a side of it to me where he wants to be some of these other guys, like, that want to just spout out things, and because they have the credibility to do it. But I'm sorry, Perk, you just don't. You don't have a history in broadcast to the degree as some of these other folks. And when you're doing it on a regular basis and they're bombing that bad, you get to take the crap. You just do.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And going at Charles Barkley,
come on, man.
He is more successful in his NBA career and in his broadcasting career,
right,
than Kendrick Perkins ever was or ever will be. That's why, Tyler, Kendrick Perkins is just a guy.
Well, Spence, you know how I feel about this topic. I am recency biasing because I had a little bit of a rant twice this week on 2 different shows, and we're going to bring it here because it just got stirred up again last night.
The people want to hear it.
My Jag of the Week, guys, go with me here, is the NCAA. Because we are now at a point, and I am talking about you, Shedeur Sanders, and your crazy vibes that you have put off in the NFL Combine.
Some might say his aura.
His aura, that's a better word. Thank you. The college football has gotten to a point where when they opened up the can of NIL, they did such a horrendous job of containing it to where now you have these kids making more money in college than some will ever make in the league, number one, but especially making more money than they initially get into the league as a pick, if they're not a first rounder. So when you have guys like Saquon Barkley, who was your offensive player of the year, and in a league that has been primarily with the mindset of you don't pay your running backs as they should be paid, and then you have these kids coming in and think that they're owed what, say a Trevor Lawrence contract looks like immediately out there, when they have done nothing to deserve it, and want to act like they are also Tom Brady, and they've accomplished nothing. Nothing. This is not solely on the individual person. This is a cultural, environmental stigma that stems from the way that college football and the NCAA have allowed this whole NIL money situation to give these kids this inner power and mindset that they are owed more than what they are worth immediately and are better than what they are because somebody has deep pockets at a major university and is sick of seeing their team suck. So what do? They become a booster and they dump money into it. And they'll go out and get a Carson Beck for $10 million for his senior year. It is unbelievable. It is disgusting. And you are on a path now that if it doesn't change, you in college football will be solely responsible for this next wave of NFL professionals that are coming in from college and ruining a culture that historically has been better than other leagues. And because of that, NCAA, you are just a guy.
Yeah, one thing I want to note, I've seen this, and I'm not coming at you too hard on this, but I've heard this said a lot this week, and I need to put this out there for a reminder. Yes, Carson Beck making $10 million this year in NIL money. And that is more than what a lot of the first-round picks will make this year for their salary. This ignores the massive signing bonuses that all the first-round players get.
$25 million.
So let's be clear. Anyone drafted in the first round will make more money than Carson Beck this year. But that doesn't negate everything that you just said, because you're absolutely right. The NCAA has a lot of people are college over NFL guys. That's not us. We're NFL guys first. But a lot of the people over the years that have been so adamant that they enjoy watching college football more than the NFL, one of the first things they always talk about is, I like watching college football because the players do it for the love of the game. And that has gone out the window over the past decade So much so that now players go to colleges for 1 year. They don't have the exact season and level of production that they wanted, and they leave. They have no buy-in to their school, no buy-in to the program. They're not tied into the communities there anymore. They're already into the workforce. And that's why I think you're starting to see more and more people start to kind of not be so pleased with what the NCAA product is. And that's why there's, this past playoff, I mean, there wasn't as much hype for it as there was in years past. The Natty was one of the worst rated Natties ever. So a lot of this has to do with the fact of the culture that the NCAA has allowed to be established. And I don't think anyone like Carson Beck should be making $10 million in NIL money. But I also, it's like they overcorrected the problem, because I also always hated that a college athlete couldn't simply sign a signature or sell a jersey with their name on it. So I like that there's some empowerment here for them to have the opportunities, like these business ventures that they do.
Regulate it better, though.
There needs to be more regulation. And to be fair, we're still brand new at this. This has only been going on for about, was it like 5 or 6 years? We've been dealing NIL, if that. So maybe over time we start to develop a better system. But I'll tell you what, I'm with you. It ain't working right now. The NCAA, bunch of jags.
How many times have we? I can't remember the last time we've consistently seen, like aura, personality, whatever you want to call it, problems with some of these guys than we have over the past 3 years coming in as first-round quarterbacks. They feel like they're owed something.
Yeah. And just for the record, again, a lot of people are comparing Carson Beck to Bo Nix and saying that he's going to make more than Bo Nix. Yeah, Bo Nix had a $10.3 million signing bonus.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure everyone is aware.
It's not.
They are not making more money in NIL money than they are in the NFL.
My point is not as much about if they are or not making more money. It's the fact that they are making that amount of money.
Of course, $10 million is a ton of money. Just not picking on you, just making sure that, we have facts out there. But coming up after the break, we're continuing to roll on into the second hour of the program, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the number one pick. The draft is just about a month and a half away, so we'll get into that and more here on the ESPN 97.5 airwaves. This is the Athletically Declined radio show.
is the ESPN 97.5 radio show of Athletically Declined. Hanging out with you guys tonight, Jet and Mr. Fantasy himself.
Boom. In the flesh,
Spencer
hanging out,
Nolan.
having a good time. It's a beautiful Thursday. I love that down here in H-Town, we got some beautiful weather these past 2 days. It's been very unfortunate being cooped up in an office all day, and then you get out and it's dark already. But if you didn't realize this, do y'all know it's daylight savings time this weekend?
It is.
It is time to spring forward, baby. So we're all going to be tired on Sunday.
So tell me this, Spence. Do you have any? I know some people have, like, talk about spring cleaning or anything. Do you do any special when anything's different, special for when spring hits? Do you do a little spring cleaning? Do anything specific?
I'll tell you what I normally do. Not cleaning. I clean usually once a week. Maybe here and there I'll do some dishes and some laundry throughout the week, but I'm a once a week kind of guy. But I'll tell you, when it comes to the spring and we get to this time of the year, I'm a big fan on Saturday morning, waking up, make a cup of coffee, go sit out on the porch about 7:30 and just watch the sunrise, the birds sing. You'll have like a 1 or 2 month window when you can do this and you won't feel the stickiness of the sweat already starting to accumulate down your back. And you can just enjoy the nice weather, enjoy the views, the birds singing, the sun coming up. It's a vibe. So I love doing that on a Saturday morning. Just in the springtime, though, it's already, by the time in the wintertime, I've already woken up and the sun's already up. I don't get that experience.
So does also like Broadway music start playing and then the birds start singing with you? Like I feel like you're explaining to me that your mornings during the spring start to become like the sound of music.
I'm gonna tell you what I'm actually doing out there with code. It wouldn't be Sound of Music. It'd be more like maybe more some like reggae, maybe some Bob Marley being played. If you catch my drift, that's probably more accurate. If you catch my drift,
I feel that. I feel you on there. But there's something that is very much the biggest, in my opinion. It's probably one of the biggest topics of conversation when it comes to the draft, other than the players themselves right now, and that is the number 1 overall pick reportedly being shopped, and they're also reportedly being a interstate, however you want to put that, competition between who's going to get this number 1 pick in a trade. That is, if the Titans do end up deciding to trade it, and that is with the New York Jets, my beloved, every year let me down franchise, and the second team that no one cares about anymore in New York, the New York Giants. So tell me this, Spence. A lot of talk. We've talked about this a lot this week. Do you feel like that there is going to be movement prior to draft night or after or during draft night?
Well, definitely during draft night.
For the number 1.
For the number 1 overall pick, that will be done well ahead of time. That's what we've seen historically.
Okay.
I think back to, as recently as the Bears. We saw that deal get done before the draft. But then we saw a deal the year before with the Texans. They traded up to the 3rd overall pick the night up. There was rumblings that they might do something crazy like that. Daniel Jeremiah famously nailed that prediction in his final mock draft the day of the draft. He nailed it, and the Texans ended up doing it. He looked like a sage. Love Daniel Jeremiah. He's great content.
Fantastic.
But if I am the Jets and I'm able to not only trade Aaron Rodgers to the Giants and get him off my team, that would also essentially take them out of the running.
It's true.
To trade up for the 1st overall pick. Because, unless they really, really love Abdul Carter, which I do. I think Abdul Carter is going to come in and immediately be a difference-making player on the edge. And I would even say this. I like him more as a prospect than I liked Will Anderson as a prospect. I do. Abdul Carter is going to be a problem. So unless the Giants fall in love with him and they trade up for him in a weird Saints trading up for Chris Olave out of nowhere type of move where they trade up a lot of premium assets to not take a quarterback, it would just make no sense. So if I'm the Jets and you can, again, drop Aaron Rodgers off in the other locker room and you can trade up with the Titans and you can get your guy, Cam Ward, you got to be feeling pretty good if you are a Jets fan.
Yeah, I would. I think I'm very scarred with the most recent quarterbacks taken within the top, we'll call it top 5 picks for the Jets. So my conservative mindset that I'm now currently in right now, being skeptic on it, doesn't want them to trade for it, because I do think there's a lot of value later in the later like parts of the first round. I.e., I would rather see them use that stay at 7, draft Warren. Like, I mean, we haven't had a real, we've talked about it before in this league. If you're on the path of contention, if like one of two things in my mind, you either have an elite receiver with an elite tight end, or you have an elite quarterback, right? Like, those are kind of some of the pieces that you see on a lot of these teams that compete into like an NFC or an AFC championship game for the most part, right?
I was going to say, I'm trying to think of a team that won the Super Bowl within the last decade that didn't have an elite quarterback and an elite wide receiver option.
Right. So
you typically need both.
Right. And I'm talking about too on the other end of that, like, you look at Pat Mahomes, like his guy is Kelsey. I mean,
sure.
We can go down the list of it, but yeah, my point being, right, Warren to me is a guy that can have a Bowers type of impact on a team. He is an animal. Like, draft's my thing. I haven't gotten to dig too deep into all the tight ends yet, but I have watched a lot of Warren tape, and that guy's what was, remember that we had in the early stages of our time here at ESPN, we talked about, my theory with the tight ends. This dude is big. He is a big guy. He can catch. He is fast. He is a route runner. He is a blocker. Like everything that we liked about Bowers. And then later on, go get Jackson Dart. Take a flyer. And then you can figure out what's going to happen, get Fields. But if they got Cam Ward, I'm not upset about it. Like I am going to be excited. Like, don't hear what I'm not saying. I will be excited. You're
going to fully buy in, and we're going to get some Cam Ward propaganda the following week.
Probably. But I'm still not fully invested in Mogi yet as a GM. He hasn't done anything, right? So like, now I've got to trust that this guy can scout, right? Or that, the combination between him, because our scouting hasn't been that good when it comes to quarterbacks. Everywhere else, it seems like they've done a good job. So, it's like, okay, Glenn, like Aaron, what are you going to do? Where are you going to come into play? But what I have heard, at least, is that the Jets, Mogi is more of like, everything points to Aaron Glenn. And when I was told that from pretty solid source, that made me feel a lot better. But yeah, I think that's going to be the thing. And I think the Titans are going to get a haul for it. And that's also what makes me fearful of that is I don't want to see the Jets get in a situation where we are unclear what, like a project, which I think him, or I think any of these quarterbacks would still be a project, that you're going to be investing in that and give up that much when you would have to maybe be in the same situation a few years later and you don't have that pick.
What is your realistic and honest expectations of the Jets for 2025 before they make any moves? Like right now, the way the roster stands right now, you don't have a quarterback. Devontae Adams is gone, but the rest of the team, probably for the most part, still there. There's a couple of free agents that you have to make some decisions on. But right now, what do you think their level is? Do you honestly see a Super Bowl roster here?
No.
So, hang on. Stay with me here. The reason I ask that is because if you don't see a Super Bowl contending roster, to me, the move is to go young. Let him grow with the team that you don't think is ready to win a Super Bowl. If you truly think this is a team that can win a Super Bowl now, you got to go for an established quarterback. You have to go for like a Fields, or it'd be very funny and ironic if they brought back Sam Darnold after the play he had. But that would be wild, and that'd be a full circle moment for you personally.
Oh yeah, it would.
But I tend to agree with you. I don't think they see a Super Bowl roster there. I don't think it's ready to contend just yet. Go get your quarterback. However you feel about Cam Ward. I'm not super in love with Cam Ward, but I do think he is worth a first-round pick. I do think he has traits that I like as a franchise quarterback. I'm just not fully sold on him yet because this class overall is just very just kind of bums me out a little bit. But I think if he's your guy, go get your guy.
I think what I will say is that I do think this is a playoff-capable team. I do think that.
But Super Bowl and playoff, much different.
Very different. I think, but again, you're talking about a team that hasn't been to the playoffs since I think we haven't been to the playoffs since 2011.
Yeah.
So that's that's a step to me. Like if Aaron Glenn can take this team to an appearance in the playoffs, you can break that drought. I will be floored. But unfortunately, the Patriots are getting better.
Yes.
The Buffalo has the now MVP of the league. Like there's a lot of things that will not change and things that will improve for the other teams. However, the glimmer of hope is that it is a new head coach with New England. You don't know what Vrabel's going to bring to that system because May wasn't with Josh Daniels. I do think the Dolphins will be the last place team in that league.
I agree.
And I think that McDaniels is going to not be the head coach of that team after this year.
I agree with that as well.
So I think with that being said, I think there could be another playoff team come out of that division, and it wouldn't shock me. But it's all going to depend on how they move these chess pieces. And again, we don't know enough for me to say with full confidence that I feel confident in that.
Yeah. So coming up after the break, we are going to go through some of the biggest free agents that are going to be available next week when free agency starts. And we're going to give you some rapid fire predictions of where we think they land. We'll do that, and we'll talk about a couple other things as we near the end of the show. This is the Athletically Declined radio show here on ESPN Houston 97.5.
This is Athletically Declined.
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Now back to the remote Veritex Community Bank Studios with Jet Boyer and Spencer Nolan.
It is the Athletically Declined radio show on ESPN 97.5, joined by Mr. Fantasy himself. I am Jet. Been along for this ride with you guys for the past hour and some change. And as we draw it to a close here in the last, 45 minutes or so, we're going to hit you with some rapid fires on this segment, boys.
Yeah.
Top free agents coming into free agent period.
Yes, the fun begins on Monday when the legal tampering period, I love that they call it that. It's so silly to me. It's the legal tampering. This tampering, that's never legal. That is illegal.
You know what, when like that combination of words in this situation reminds me of every time I hear you say legal tampering period. Do you remember that episode, for all of you, I guess, millennials, you'll appreciate this, SpongeBob episode with his license? He goes, are you legal? Are you legal? Are you legal? No?
I guess I don't remember that one.
Okay.
Or maybe you didn't do a good impression of it. I can't recall.
Anyway, but yeah,
all right.
It always reminds me of that. Anyway.
So we are looking at Pro Football Focus's list of the top 150 players set to hit free agency. Now, we're not going to hit all of them. We'd be here all night. We only got a little bit of time, but we're going to start at the top. And Jet, we'll go name for name, and we'll just give a spot what we think happens with this player.
Okay.
First and foremost, number one on the Pro Football Focus free agent ranking. Now, they don't update these as players sign deals and we find out their fate. So this one probably is a layup. But T. Higgins of the Cincinnati Bengals, what happens with T. Higgins?
He stays.
All right. Trey Smith of the Kansas City Chiefs.
49ers.
Okay. He's going to be a tag and trade because they did tag him.
I think that he's going to get traded. I don't think they're going to be able to pay him.
Okay. Javon Holland, a Miami Dolphins safety.
I could see Holland, maybe Seattle.
Okay. This feels like a Cowboys move for me.
It could be a Cowboys move.
Feels like a Cowboys move today. Selectively aggressive is what Jerry Jones said the Cowboys are going to be. Selectively aggressive. I can't wait to talk to AJ at the end of the show and find out what he thinks exactly selectively aggressive means. It sounds like more Jerry Jones speak. So I need a Cowboys fan to translate that for us. How about this one? Chris Godwin.
See, I don't think he's going to stay.
You don't think he's going to stay?
I don't think he's going to stay.
Okay.
I can see Godwin going to like someone that comes to my mind is the Cowboys. That feels like a Cowboys move.
All right. I think he stays in Tampa. I do.
You think so?
I think another team that would be interesting if they were to make a move for him. Now, I know they have a abundance of wide receivers. They drafted one, signed one last year. But I wouldn't be surprised with all the moves that the Jaguars made today. If they went, big game hunting and they ended up with a Chris Godwin, I wouldn't be surprised with that one.
I like this next one.
Either. Yeah. Next one, number 5, Khalil Mack, Chargers edge rusher.
So I am going to have a little reunion here. The Bears.
Oh, okay.
Need to make some moves. Got the coach. I would love Khalil Mack on a defense that needs some help. They need some help on that front.
I think he's a New England Patriot. I think they have the most cap space. I think he's going to be a Patriot. I think they'll pay up. They'll get it done. And I think he's going to bring them some much-needed credibility to a unit that was just disgusting last year. All right, how about this one? This is near and dear to your heart. Number 6, DJ Reed, cornerback for the New York Jets.
So I want to think that he would stay, but I just don't know what Aaron Glenn's going to do with that defense. So I do think he will leave. I think he will go back to the 49ers, reunited with Saleh. Saleh knows how to use him in his system very, very well. And he's going to go back and be a solid contributor to that 49ers defense.
I see Kansas City Chiefs here. I think they need to move some cap around, but as we talk about, always in a joking but kind of in a real way, the salary cap barely exists. Teams have all these crazy creative ways that they can navigate that and still make moves. I think with what they saw, their secondary look like in the Super Bowl, getting carved up by Jalen Hurts. I think they need to address it. They never really fully addressed after L'Jarius Sneed left last offseason. I think they have someone paired with Trent McDuffie and in the form of DJ Reed. Number 7 on the list, Amari Cooper of the Buffalo Bills / Cleveland Browns.
So I'm going to give you 2 on this one.
Okay.
Just because I think it's very possible that either one can happen. Reunion with the Raiders. Easily see that happening. Desperately need help in the wide receiver category. But another one that I would actually, even though it would hurt me, I would love this. Amari Cooper feels like a Patriot to me. Feels like a guy that could be very consistent for Drake May. Just the culture. I just feel like that would be a good spot for him.
I like a reunion for Amari Cooper, but not with the Raiders.
The Cowboys.
With the Cowboys. I think Jerry Jones is going to try to right the wrong when he traded him famously for just a 5th-round pick.
Yep.
I think he tries to make it right, and he gets him back in there, and he gets him on a cheap deal, and he's reunited with CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. All right, now this is a big one. Ronnie Stanley, tackle from the Ravens.
Resign.
I think he's re-signed as well.
There's no way.
I don't think
let pieces go like that.
And if he somehow were to hit the market, man, he's going to get a bag because he has been one of the best left tackles in all football. That's a guy you cannot let walk, especially after they made a mistake and let Orlando Brown walk several years ago. I think he goes back.
The heating up rumor now is that he will go to the Chiefs.
See, that's exactly what I was going to say. I literally was about to say that if he were to walk, that would make sense.
And that's why they're clearing out their offensive line right now, is so that they'll have more cap space to sign him.
Yeah, but I think these are exactly reasons why I think Baltimore will freak out and see that the deal needs to get done, and they'll get it done. But that'd be a great move for the Chiefs after we saw that offensive line just get decimated in the Super Bowl. All right, number 9. This is a fun one, and this is the one that we can go a lot of different directions with. Quarterback, Minnesota Vikings, Sam Darnold. Jet, this is your boy. You love Sam Darnold.
Love Sam Darnold.
Where do you want to see him playing in 2025?
He's going to resign.
He's going to resign with the Vikings.
I think I would put money that they resign. There's no way that you are going to let that man go after he, they know O'Connell knows that he can run that offense the way that it needs to be ran. And a second year Darnold in that system, after the way he played last year, I want to see it when you don't know what McCarthy's going to look like. You don't know how he's going to come back from injury.
Yeah, second year Darnold is the last 2 games Darnold.
Yeah, I was going to say second year Darnold, man, he's mythical. Everyone remembers where they were when they were watching second year Sam Darnold with the New York Jets, right?
Just breaking off 65-yard runs for Gase because he was running for his life with no offensive line.
Yeah, I think, though, the Vikings move on. I think they're ready to give the keys to J.J. McCarthy. I've seen some positive hit pieces come out. They wouldn't be hit pieces if they're positive, but I've seen some positive propaganda come out about what they feel about J.J. McCarthy. So I think Sam Darnold, and this is tricky. I'm going to give you one, but there's 2 places I think he ends up signing with. I'm going to go with the one I think he's more likely to sign with, and I think that is where the Las Vegas Raiders go.
That would be my second choice.
Yeah,
I love that for him too.
I do too.
I think Carroll would do well helping whatever development. Like, obviously, I don't think that it's as good as what O'Connell would do, but I think that's probably your next best option for who needs him.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun if they sign a Sam Darnold, draft a Jalen Milroe on day 2.
Trey Harris.
I like that for them. My other one would be the Tennessee Titans for similar reasons. There's a need there. Yeah. Maybe they hold the first overall pick. They take Abdul Carter. They sign Sam Darnold. They get rid of Will Levis. And we see a Titans team look drastically better overnight just by signing a quarterback that's better than Will Levis. I'm not going to say that he's going to fix the franchise. And then you get a franchise-altering edge rusher in Abdul Carter.
Yeah.
I think that'd be great. All right, Josh Sweat. We were talking about him a lot in the Super Bowl. He was taking over the game, wrecked it completely. Where does Josh Sweat end up?
The Washington Commanders.
Oh, the Commanders get Sweat.
Who need desperately need help on the front line for their defense. This is the opportunity. If Josh Sweat is not re-signed, Howie does unbelievable when it comes to these situations. But I do think that Sweat is going to, after that game, especially, the market's going to be way more in his favor than what he would probably have to do to stay. And I think that the Commanders are a team that have one of I don't know if it's the most, but top 5 in the most cap. I do.
They were
remember
third before teams started restructuring and cutting guys. They were third most cap space. I don't know. I'm not going to keep track of who.
Yeah.
They have the cap space to make it work. I actually agree with that one. That would be where I would be matchmaking.
Love
Josh
that.
Sweat would be with the Eagles. Let's do a couple more before we get to the break. How about this one? This one's near and dear to my heart. Stephon Diggs.
All right, I'm going to give you one. Seattle.
Okay.
Losing Lockett. You're assumingly going to lose DK.
Oh, it sounds like DK is gone.
Yeah, so you're just gonna have Njigba there. Absolutely not. That team's not gonna be able to function without another guy. And I think Stephon Diggs is perfect. He's somebody who come in there and trust him, know what you're gonna get out of him, and he'll be a great mentor-ish figure to Njigba to be able to continue his own development.
I think Stephon Diggs is going to be a Green Bay Packer.
Really?
I think he's going to be a Green Bay Packer. The Packers have a huge need for a guy who can be their number one option. We've seen Stephon Diggs be that guy in the past. Coming off of a knee injury, it remains to be seen if he can rediscover being that guy again. But if you have someone who has experience being the number one option, then you can sprinkle in your ancillary options like they had. Like that last year, the Packers had a bunch of wide receiver 2s and 3s, and they were kind of wide receiver by committee. You bring a guy like Stephon Diggs in who you know is going to be your main target share. Then guys like Jaden Reed, guys like Romeo Dobbs, guys like Christian Watson coming off of an injury, Dontavian Wicks if he's still with the team. These are all guys who will then elevate their play because there's another guy on the other side that is taking the pressure off of them. It was something that was drastically needed in this offense last year for the Packers. And so I think Stephon Diggs ends up back in the NFC North with the Green Bay Packers. Let's do a couple more. Hassan Reddick, New York Jet. Is he going back to the Jets, Tyler?
No, I don't think he's going back to the Jets.
No.
But here's one for you. Another reunion.
Okay.
Those you don't know, whenever he was having his great year with Philly, Jonathan Gannon, now the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, could see wanting to go play for Gannon again would make a lot of sense.
I like that. It's good matchmaking. For me, Hassan Reddick, I think I'll probably put him. I'll put him. What are the Buffalo Bills doing?
I don't know if they have enough cap.
They probably don't, but is Hassan Reddick really going to demand a ton of cap after the year he had and after all the off-field stuff?
I mean,
I don't know that he's in a position to be negotiating very powerfully.
Well, he thought he was with the Jets.
That's true. That's true. Raiders would make sense there as well. All right.
Last one.
And I'm going to skip down a little bit. Some of these aren't fun.
I'll give you Chadarius Ward real quick because I didn't have someone for him.
Go ahead.
That's I think the Jets. I think Chadarius Ward would be a guy. If you lose DJ Reed, you're going to have to fill that. And I think that would be a guy that I think the Jets could grab, and it would make some sense.
All righty. Coming up on the other side, we'll get into a couple more free agent predictions, and we're going to touch on the Houston Rockets. They have been slumping lately. They need to get back in the win column. They are playing right now in New Orleans, but it has been tough sledding for the Rockets lately. So we're going to talk about them on the other side. This is the Athletically Declined radio show here on ESPN Houston 97.5.
You're back with Jet Boyer and Spencer Nolan of Athletically Declined
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
It is Athletically Declined Sports on ESPN 97.5. Hanging out with you is Mr. Fantasy, Spencer Nolan, and myself, Jet Boyer. Spencer, got some Rockets talk, man. It's not looking really great the past few games.
It has been a bummer for the Rockets since coming out of the All-Star break. Quite a bit of a slump, spearheaded by the back-to-back losses they took on Monday and Tuesday night at the hands of the Thunder and Pacers, respectively. They have lost 3 in a row, and they only have 2 victories since the All-Star break. And we are in the first week of March now. Now, currently, as we speak, they are up 6 points in New Orleans against the Pelicans, one of the worst teams in basketball. Came at a great time that we'll play them tonight, and then again in Toyota Center on Saturday night. These need to be 2 back-to-back victories, because what we have seen from the Rockets lately has been very, very discouraging, to say the least. And, you know, hindsight's 20/20, of course, and we talked about it at length on this very show before the trade deadline about what we think the Rockets should do. You were adamant, Tyler, that you thought they need to make a trade. I was kind of cautioning that maybe we just stay put, make a small trade, but just work with what we have because it's gotten us this far. And while I admit there have been some injuries, we're still waiting for Fred VanVleet to get back. We're playing games without Tari Eason playing back-to-backs. Şengün's been battling injuries. Jalen Green's been an absolute trooper, but he has been hurt, and he's playing through injuries because he's just a durable guy. But all of it has accumulated to the Rockets now falling almost completely out of home court advantage in the NBA playoffs. In fact, right now, they would go on the road in Memphis if the playoffs were to start today. Now, the thing is, the Western Conference, everything is super compact. There is only 3 games separating the Rockets from the 2 seed, but there's also only 3 games separating the Rockets from the 7th seed and being in play-in territory, which would not be ideal for a Rockets team that really was looking like they were going to be a legit playoff team for most of the year. They were the 2 seed holding it down, you know, only team to have beaten the Thunder and the Celtics and the Cavs in this season. I don't know if that's still true or not. There might be other teams that have accomplished this. But going back to the trade deadline, again, hindsight's 20/20, but I think now we can all agree, if you really thought the Rockets had a chance to win a championship this year, they didn't make a move at the deadline, and that is going to be the reason why they don't win a championship this season. Now, I'm on record saying I never thought that they were going to be a contender this season anyways. I was just simply, before the season, looking to make the play-in, show that they can hang with some of these tougher teams in the Western Conference, get some playoff experience under their belt. They blew those expectations out of the water the first 3 months of the season, kind of created some new expectations for themselves. Nonetheless, I still think this is a house money type of season, so I'm not panicking by any extent. But it is slightly disappointing looking back on the trade deadline, thinking about some of the opportunities that were there. You could have gone for a Kevin Durant. You could have gone for maybe even a smaller deal. You could have gone for like a Cameron Johnson type. These are some moves you could have made that would have improved your chances to win this year. They didn't do anything. And instead, they decided to bank on a half-court offense that we knew was flawed already. And the goal here for the Rockets, transition defense, get out there on the fast break, and that's what their offense is going to be in the playoffs. And that's just simply not sustainable. So hurry up, Fred VanVleet. He's going to make things look a lot better when he does return and he's fully playing, he's fully healthy. And that way we don't have to watch as much Aaron Holiday running the point for the Rockets anymore. I'm about sick of that. But I'll say this. Not all of it has been negative. Reed Shepherd on Monday night against the Oklahoma City Thunder in the first career start, he had I had it. I lost it. But he had a very good game in his first career start, Reed Shepherd. So the stretch has been discouraging because they haven't been putting wins together.
25 points.
Thank you, 25. I wanted to say 25, but I didn't want to be wrong. Thank you. Yeah, he had a great game. 25 points in his first start, was hitting threes.
Whitmore also a very good game that game.
Yeah, and that was a game that, again, they were playing down a bunch of guys. And I'm going to call out Coach Ime for a sec. I'm going to call out Coach Ime for this because they started the game basically conceding already. They held out Şengün, holding out Fred VanVleet, and I believe they even held out Tari Easton as well in this game as well. They held out a bunch of guys basically saying, we don't think we can win tonight. We're going to put all our chips in the basket to get the dub tomorrow night against the Pacers, and they did not get it done. They lost to the Pacers as well. And I just have a problem with Ime Udoka just kind of punting games against Western Conference foes like that. I know there's no realistic chance that the Rockets would catch the Thunder in the standings. They're 11 games behind them.
Right.
The Thunder are the 1 seed in the NBA for the Western Conference. They are going to be the 1 seed.
Yeah, and one thing I will say is in the struggles of the past 5 games, Şengün's been fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude's averaging a double-double over the past 5 games. Jalen Green, like you said, battling through injuries, still putting up good numbers. One thing that I am discouraged about a little bit is Jabari's been slow coming back.
Yes.
And that doesn't make me feel good. You especially, and that I think was a lot of my reasoning behind wanting to make a move down the stretch like this after All-Star. Like now this is like now the real work starts, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Like now you're dealing.
This is when all the fans start to tune in.
Right. This is when you're starting. You've got tread from the season, heavy tread from the season on the tire, essentially that coming off. You're having to deal with injuries that you're playing through, multiple players, like things like that. Like there's a lot of that going on, and we see the teams that are deep being the ones that are able to fight through that to get to what we would call the successful playoffs runs. And I don't see where when VanVleet's not on the court, this team is different.
It's tough.
And it's not necessarily because he's such an incredible player compared to these other guys. When he's the general,
right?
He is the engine that moves this offense into where they need to go. And you can't operate with one guy doing that. If you're going to go into a deep playoff run, you need more than one of those guys to take that responsibility. And honestly, where I'm at now, and I know you're going to agree with me, with the play of Amen Thompson, why can that not be him? Why can we not get him more responsibility in the play calling? So when situations like this happen, you've got somebody, because Şengün don't need to do it. He needs to do what he does. Just do what you're doing. Jalen isn't that guy. I'm sorry. Like I've
not a primary ball handler, no.
But to be able to be a facilitator as the number 2 facilitator regularly whenever VanVleet's not there, like resting, that needs to be. And we thought Cam Whitmore might be that guy this year, and he's not.
Yeah, he has not been.
Reed's not that guy yet. We hope he can become that. But you really don't have that. And I think that is a problem.
Yeah, right now I think if Rockets fans are honest, if we're being real with ourselves and we're calling it how it is, I don't think I see the Rockets winning a 7-game series, even against a team like the Grizzlies that they have, this season been very, very good against. I just don't see it happening with the state of this half-court offense and how they've struggled recently. And you mentioned Amen Thompson. Not gonna lie, there's not been a bigger Amen Thompson fan in Houston than me. I've been calling him our best player, and I still think he is our best player on the roster right now. But he has been bad lately.
He's been inconsistent.
He has been. Sure. He has not been good. The thing that has been real bad, and it's not going to show up on the box score, is his defense hasn't shown up there. The defense has not been on the level that we have been noticed at the beginning of the season. That led us to the early success. But one more segment that we got on the other side, we're going to bring our producer extraordinaire, AJ, in, and we're going to pick his brain on maybe what the Dallas Cowboys do in the offseason. We got one more segment for you here on the Athletically Declined radio show here on ESPN Houston 97.5.
This is Athletically Declined.
On ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Now back to the remote Veritex Community Bank Studios with Jet Boyer and Spencer Nolan.
It is the Athletically Declined radio show, ESPN 97.5. Jet and Spence, Mr. Fantasy. Shout out 7132 Sports Boy Ruby. Says Christian Kirk. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Future DJ, by the way, Ruby.
Yeah, and let me say this. I didn't mention this earlier when we talked about Christian Kirk, but, I'm Mr. Fantasy for a reason. I'm obsessed with fantasy football. That's my thing. And I think Christian Kirk going to be a draftable wide receiver too. If you get him in the 6th or 7th round, that's going to be great value. I don't know if he'll be available then. He might be because of with CJ Stroud. He might be drafted a little bit higher, but if you can get him in round 6, 7, or later, that's going to be an absolute steal in fantasy drafts. So as we do every single week, we need to bring in our producer extraordinaire, running stuff behind the scenes, AJ Swaggy Russ. AJ, how are you doing this week, my brother?
What's up, guys? Doing pretty good. How about y'all?
Cannot complain.
Fabulous.
I'm very excited because we have NFL Christmas beginning on Monday.
Right.
And now, AJ, I know last week, when Ruben was here, you caught some flack. And, I just want to say this. I hope you understand that was not from me. That was from Ruben. And I apologize for his behavior last week.
No, that's all good. I'm used to, the talk about the Cowboys. So it's all good. I'm reasonable, but I'm also, go there.
I know you are. And I like that you were like, I'm a reasonable Cowboys fan, but you're not going to talk crazy to me. I'm going to stand my ground. I like that, AJ. But I do want to ask you, when we ran through our list of free agents that are available starting on Monday earlier, I mentioned a couple of guys that I think the Cowboys would be interested in, and I kind of predicted that they'll go for. Are there any guys on your wish list that you want to see the Cowboys go after? And realistically, what do you see them doing? Because we've heard Jerry Jones at it again in the media. Famously last year said they were going all in and then did a whole lot of nothing, paid his guys, and that was pretty much it. This year, AJ, he is saying that the Cowboys are going to be selectively aggressive.
Well, now he's saying that.
What do we mean by selectively aggressive, AJ? I need you to translate Jerry Jones for me.
Honestly, I'm not sure, but I mean, I guess he just means hopefully being more aggressive than last year, not doing anything, just sitting on the rear ends. And for me, I know a lot of people are probably look at the wide receiver market free agency wise, which it wouldn't be bad to add somebody like a veteran. Especially with Schottenheimer, he used to be the OC in Seattle. So, I mean, adding someone like a Tyler Lockett or other players, you said Chris Godwin or things of that nature. But really, in my opinion, I want to get a player that can help us now and in the future, a wide receiver too. And I told you a few weeks ago, bro, for some reason, they have Ted McMillan sliding to the mid-first round, bro. If that happens, you got to get him. In second round, address the running back need. But that's what I want. But free agency-wise, though, I mean, I really just want to build out the depth in the interior defensive line, things of that nature. We know that they're probably going to hopefully try to re-sign some people. They've just re-signed Osa Odigizua, who in my opinion is one of the most underrated defensive tackles in the league.
Absolutely.
Really good player.
But he will no longer be underrated.
Right.
He is
true.
on the radar
that's
now.
True. That's for sure true. Exactly. But yeah, him, and then keeping a guy like Jordan Lewis, who's an underrated cornerback, who really is a locker room guy that's good for the Cowboys. We'll see what happens with DeMarcus Lawrence, apparently, because he's been a Cowboys really consistent for the Cowboys for the past decade plus.
Yeah,
but
he's a legend.
Right. Exactly. But for me, I mean, it's just building at the defensive line and maybe adding a couple people to the offensive line just to have some more depth, because really that was the main issue last year, because you had the injuries and things of that nature, but you didn't have anyone to replenish that role after the people got injured. So you want to have that depth just in case. Now, I mean, if you don't need the depth, then it's a luxury at that point, but you need that. So I think that's going to help for sure, just adding some people of that nature. And then, I mean, y'all mentioned Javon Holland as well too. They're gonna low key need some cornerback depth, because Trevon Diggs, he had an injury, and it's low key been left under wraps about how serious it is. And low key, some people have had rumors about him potentially getting cut. I don't think it's gonna happen, but I'm not necessarily just entirely opposed to it necessarily, because when you look at the film, when you look at him play, sometimes it's bro is scared to tackle sometimes. So, but I don't think they're gonna cut him or anything like that. I mean, you have DeRon Bland. He just suffered his first major injury, but we look back in the 2023 season, he led the league in pick sixes and interceptions. So I think that they need to, look at cornerback in terms of some more depth. Maybe even look at somebody like a Travarius Ward, because he used to be in Dallas before he went to San Francisco. So we'll see there.
Yeah.
But I think those are some underrated needs for sure. D-line, of course, but cornerback particularly, that's a need, in my opinion, that's really underrated.
So I was going to ask you. I mentioned as Amari Cooper. I assume you're probably out on him because you mentioned you probably want something for the future.
Yeah, for the future and now for sure. I want a younger wide receiver too. But I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to bringing in a veteran. But you just need some more weapons offensively in general. Then obviously the running back as well. And then I think also bringing back Rico Dowdle and drafting a running back, that'll be a good combination to have a two-back system.
Well, this is the draft class to get you a running back.
Exactly.
What about another rumor and another guy we talked about, but we didn't predict him for the Cowboys, but you talk about Trayvon Diggs. What if we get brother Steph up there and get some Diggs, brother? That could be fun. What do we think about that?
I'm good, man. Y'all can keep him or he can go somewhere else. I'm good, bro. I don't want that Diggs type of persona, him potentially being a locker room problem. A locker room problem too? Nah, we don't need none of that already in Dallas. We don't need a locker room problem either. I know he was good with Houston this year, but you just never know, dog. And he's not going to be getting the targets because the CD gets that. But, I mean, I'd rather have a younger wide receiver too. I think that's just a better option, to be honest.
I would like to know how you felt knowing that you're, as you said, need to shore up some of that O-line. With the Joe Thuney trade, going to the Bears, is that a guy that you wish that, seeing what they gave up for him, that Cowboys would have tried to take a flyer on him?
Yeah, hindsight looking at that, I would have liked that. But I mean, I don't think we really thought or expected he would be available necessarily. But I really do trust the development of the new offensive line coach that is there, and also the new offensive coordinator, because the offensive coordinator was in Arizona. Clayton Adams is his name. He helped lead the Arizona Cardinals to a top 10 running game the past couple of years, which has been underrated.
Oh, yeah.
Remember James Conner running the ball well in that system. So I'm optimistic about that. And the O-line coach, his name is Connor Riley, coming from Kansas State. Our center last year, he was actually a guard at college at Kansas State. Played center the first season of his rookie year last year. Only allowed 3 sacks. I think that he's going to be able to develop players like a Tyler Guyton. Already have Tyler Smith, who's an All-Pro offensive lineman as well too. So I think that they're going to continue to just help develop that O-line room, because if you look back at Mike McCarthy's staff, he really just hired a lot of guys that were just his friends. But I guess the good thing about Schottenheimer, what he has done, he has hired people who are, you can say, who are smarter than him, people who are around the league, people who he hasn't had any history around. I think that's a good ingredient, at least for success, in terms of hiring people that that have a good football IQ.
Yeah, I agree. Ben Johnson actually was talking about that recently, how he didn't hire anyone that he was friends with. He was just strictly hiring people based off of merit. We saw what happened when DeMeco Ryans hired his friend as his offensive coordinator out after 2 seasons. So I think that is the way to go to build your coaching staff. Don't look at your friendships.
Sure.
Jets are the same thing.
Yeah, just look for guys that will be the best at the job.
Right, exactly.
Get the right guy in there. AJ, also, I want your thoughts. We talked about the Rockets in the last segment. What are your thoughts on what's going on with the Rockets lately? How do we fix what's going on? Or is it fixable? Or do we just wait? Are we waiting to the offseason? And kind of like I said, are we just house money until then?
It depends on the way you describe fixable. I think that they'll probably be first round exits in general. And like you talked about for your expectations for this season, them being in a play-in spot, that was my type of barometer for them. I would have caught this a successful season. I think really what they did in the first couple of months, that was overachieving for sure. So I think that, they're probably gonna have to make some type of move. I don't know how seismic it will be. I mean, a lot of people mentioned KD coming here. I'm not necessarily too crazy on that, because he's gonna be 37 in September. So I'm not really too crazy on that. You do need another guy. Devin Booker and Luka Doncic, those are my 2 favorite players. If they could somehow get D-Book, the Suns are not going to do that. But if they could get D-Book for a Jalen Green and some packages of other players, things of that nature, that would be a dream in my opinion, because that would be able to help us send the Rockets. But I just, when you look at it, everyone says they need to make a move or a trade, but who are you trading for? That's really the thing, in my opinion. That's the main component. If you have a good player that I mean, by all means, I'm with it. But if you look at the trade market, there's not really necessarily too many guys you can just say, hey, you plug them into Houston, they'll be a championship contender immediately.
But see, that's the deal right there, what you said. I think we're at a place now with the Luka trade. Everyone's on the table and has a price.
Right. And of course, if the Suns are going into this offseason thinking that they're going to, they already basically have told Kevin Durant, you're out after the season. Thank you for your service. You're done. And he already knows he's gone. But my thing is this. When they start getting going and they start talking trades, if the Rockets aren't going for Kevin Durant, the Suns aren't going to be able to tank properly. So if they're trading Kevin Durant, they're going to be trading him for guys that they think they can use to help them win.
Right.
Or they need to trade Devin Booker also to the Rockets, since they can get their picks back and they can tank properly.
Yeah.
So I think it's on the table more so than people realize. I think obviously they want to trade Kevin Durant first, but I wouldn't be surprised if we got a notification that the Rockets are after Devin Booker, and it would, remains to be seen if they could get something done. But we know if there's any team that's got the assets, any team that's got a need, it makes so much sense for Devin Booker to be a Houston Rocket this summer. That would be very, very exciting. And then that opens up a lot of options. You can keep Fred VanVleet on an affordable contract. He can be your ball handler off the bench. And, I assume, like you mentioned, AJ, you're trading Jalen Green if you're getting Devin Booker because there's too much overlap in their skill set. But if you're trading like Devin Booker, Cam Whitmore, and then all the picks, I feel like that's a good deal for everybody. Mm-hmm. I feel like the Suns would be down for that. You give them all their picks back. They get Jalen Green. They get Cam Whitmore. That's two solid wing options they can build around. They get their picks back so they can tank.
And see that it also goes into what we were talking about earlier. Like I think with Book, with you saying they have similar skill sets as Jalen, what Book has is Book can facilitate. He can run that offense, right?
But I will say this: I wouldn't be upset if a lesser package than what I just described for Booker. I wouldn't be upset if it was just like, let's say like Jabari, a couple of picks.
Please say who I think you're going
to say. For Kevin Durant.
That's exactly the package I was thinking.
I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I would.
Because you would be able to, am I crazy to say you would get more production out of what you were wanting from Jabari out of KD at that point?
You would have a go-to guy at the end of the game, and that's what they're missing. They're missing so sorely right now. But awesome show tonight, y'all. AJ, we appreciate you running stuff behind the scenes. Alex A-Train with the AD Bets segment. That was a ton of fun. We will be here next week, same time, 7 to 9 p.m. here on the ESPN 97.5 radio station. For Jet Boyer, I am Spencer, a.k.a. Mr. Fantasy. We will see you same time next week. And until then, H-Town, y'all take it easy.